Hello, this is News Now reaching you from iBrandTV News Studio in Lagos, Nigeria. Coming up, Independent National Electoral Commission Chairman Professor Yakubu Mahmood denies 500 billion naira report earmarked for the conduct of direct primaries in the 2022 budget. United Nations marks 2021 World Human Rights Day. And federal government begins the administration of COVID-19 booster shots. Tunisian president says current constitution is no longer valid. Glad to have you join us. Here are some stories making the headlines. I am Mary Chinda. Nigeria today started the administration of COVID-19 booster shots days after the federal government approved the decision. The executive director of the National Primary Healthcare Development Agency, Faisal Shuaib, during the flag-off of the vaccination for internally displaced persons, IDPs, explained the eligibility criteria for the booster jabs. He said, and I quote, "Eligibility for the boosted dose includes being 18 years and above, fully vaccinated with 2 doses of the AstraZeneca, Moderna or Pfizer-BioNTech, or a single dose of the Johnson & Johnson vaccine." End of quote. According to him, the time interval before the booster dose is at least 6 months from these vaccines, except the Johnson & Johnson, which is at least 2 months. And moving away from health matters to security matters, Nigeria's Defense Headquarters, DHQ, says troops of Operation HADIN rescued 20 policemen kidnapped by insurgents in the northeastern Yobe state. The acting director of the Directorate of Defense Media Operations, Brigadier General Bernard Onyoko, at the media briefing in Abuja, said the policemen were abducted during an attack by insurgents in Bonuyadi, Yobe state. Onyoko stated that the policemen were abducted when terrorists launched attacks on Bonuyadi Police Division, adding that 62 insurgents had been equally decimated in the past 2 weeks during military operations in the northeast. According to him, 192 more terrorists and their families had reportedly surrendered to troops in Borno State. He also announced that troops of Operation Delta Safe had shut down 39 illegal refineries in the Niger Delta region. And away from security matters now to Nigeria's election in 2023. The chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Yakubu Mahmood, has denied reports making the rounds that 500 billion naira earmarked for the conduct of direct primaries in the 2022 budget was the reason the president denied accent to the Electoral Act as amended. The INEC chairman made these declarations during his visit to the House of Representatives Committee on Appropriation at the National Assembly in Abuja on Thursday. Professor Mahmood said his visit to the National Assembly was to brief members on INEC's requirements for the 2023 general elections. On his part, the chairman House Committee on Appropriation said, based on discussions the committee had with the INEC boss, the adoptions of direct primaries falls under the purview of individuals, political parties following their standards. Nigerian leaders have little regards for human rights. This was the consensus at the Human Rights Celebration Seminar held in Lagos to mark the Global Human Rights Day. iBrand's senior correspondent was there and reports.
You are journalists.
It is not just another gathering, it is the talk shop of human rights ahead of the December 10 World Human Rights Day, with Africa's most populous nation, Nigeria, witnessing several human rights violations, according to Amnesty International, with the wake of the Lekki Tollgate NSAS massacre still fresh in the minds of many. Stakeholders say Nigeria is lagging behind.
We're talking about human rights here and there, fighting for human rights. Is it not somebody that is healthy, that is strong, that has eaten, that has good housing and all that, that doesn't have all these problems bothering him or her, that be fighting for human rights? And the more reason why the leaders are taking away health, education, feeding, good housing from the people. So I think we have to a very large extent, fight this area of human rights, because it's even enshrined in our constitution. When you look at the issue of the social contract, right to living. So how do you have right to living when you cannot feed? When your real income is being diminished every day, how do you have that right to living?
Dr. Austin Agugwa, a doctor of sociology of the University of Lagos, is the convener of today's event. He says human rights awareness is poor in Nigeria.
Nigerians don't understand it from point of view of being the victims, talk less from point of view of being the perpetrators. And that is why some of our leaders have gotten to the point of feeling that perhaps it's time we sit back a little and have a dint of pity for them, because they are groping in the dark as to what is to be done right, especially in this area of human rights, from point of view of people's right to life, from point of view of people's right to speech, from point of view of people's right to communication, association, people's right to religion, anything that has to do with right. Most of them don't really understand the depth and the extent they infringe upon people. So that's why because what this program is all about is targeting towards establishing a program on human rights education. But before that program kicks off next year, we want to use this to sensitize Nigerians.
Away from basic human rights such as life, education, movement, association, information, speech, religion, thoughts, and assembly, these human rights experts say there is more.
Right to be heard. That a child has a right to be heard. You have to listen. And this is a country where we have culture that says, keep quiet. You don't talk when others are talking. Yet the child has a right to be heard.
This issue at Dowen College must not be allowed to be swept under the carpet. I know that they are underage children, and we talk about you can't prosecute them, but something has to be done. A child is not even going to enjoy his right if he doesn't know what the rights are. So this Child Rights Act must be taken to school as subjects. That's when children will believe and know what they are entitled to.
December 10 each year, the United Nations celebrates the inalienable rights of human beings after the 1948 United Nations General Assembly adopted the United Nations Declaration of Human Rights, and this year's theme is reducing inequalities and advancing human rights.
Earlier on the news, iBrandTV spoke with human rights activist Austin Agugwa.
As a matter of fact, Nigeria is very much in the center of what is happening as it has to do with the United Nations celebration of the Human Rights Day. Because by rights, Nigeria is a signatory to the United Nations General Assembly Declaration of the Human Rights Day in 1948. And on the surface, let me say, on the surface from point of view of lip service, Nigeria actually subscribes to all the issues as it has to do with human rights. As it has to do with your right to live, the right to be born, right to exist, right to free speech, right. And when I said free speech, even I had a little goggle in my throat, because in as much as Nigeria is a very good expert, as it has to do with her technocrats in defining the precepts of justice and equity from point of view of human rights. Now, when you now ask me Nigeria's position in these issues as it has to do with observance, that is where we have a problem. Because in Nigeria, whether we like it or not, except some people who actually try to, pander with the truth from point of view of unnecessary denial of the truth. Most of the rights which actually should accrue to sane citizens of the world in saner societies, most Nigerians do not actually enjoy that.
As Nigeria joins the rest of the globe to mark this year's World Human Rights Day, the Wale Center for Investigative Journalism has honored some journalists for investigating cases of human rights violations in the country. Our correspondent Ayiwoje Paul reports that the event which took place in Lagos had journalists receiving awards from different categories.
Human rights violations in most African countries are perpetrated by those who are expected to protect the rights of the people. The NSAS protest is one of the numerous protests embarked on by Nigerians to fight for their rights. The Wole Soyinka Center for Investigative Journalism says the rights of many Nigerians are being violated untold except journalists are courageous enough to tell the stories.
The program has over the years met the reason why we created it. We want to keep journalists motivated. We want to keep them interested in covering issues that have to do with the people. And that is our main aim. And yes, we have been achieving that.
The need for more women and youths to continuously get engaged in nations building, especially in the social political space, has again been brought to the front burner by stakeholders at the 10th Annual Symposium of late Ambassador Walter Carrington. iBrand's Ayiwoje Paul reports that the event which took place in Lagos was a brainstorming session on how more youths could realize their potentials in the country.
One of the challenges facing Nigeria as a nation is unemployment and has eaten deep into the fabrics of the society. As a way to fight this scourge, Carrington Youth Fellowship Initiative is bringing together both government and private sector to see how many more women and youths can be trained and empowered. Lagos State Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu, represented by the Commissioner for Training and Pensions, Ajibola Olufunke, while congratulating the fellowship for the event, said late Ambassador Walter Carrington stood for true democracy and better life for all, hence the need to support his ideas.
I consider it a privilege to be invited as a special guest of honor at this inaugural symposium to celebrate the man with the heart of a lion, Ambassador Walter Carrington.
For you to get education right, just put in the hand of a woman and you will get the best, because when you come home, how many of the men really have time to study with the children at home like the women do?
The Olu of Warri, His Majesty Ogame Atuase III, also present at the event, said women, when given any tasks, improve on them to make the economy better. President Carrington Fellowship Network Olushola Wunikoko, while appreciating guests and participants, said the program is to bring Nigerian youths together to get trained and empowered. Wife of late Ambassador Walter Carrington, Dr. Arese Carrington, said looking at what the fellowship is doing, she is proud that the labor of her husband is not in vain.
The future belongs to them, so they must be part of the discourse. By not investing in our youth, how many Amelia Earharts, Einsteins, Mozarts, or Wole Soyinkas have we missed just there?
If we are talking about the young people are the leaders of today, no longer tomorrow, then it is a conversation that should be active, not passive. And I think everybody should join us to do this. And the first place to do that is by investing more in this program and getting this program scaled.
Late Ambassador Walter Carrington served as American ambassador to Nigeria from 1993 to 1997. Ayiwoje Paul reporting for iBrandTV News.
About 10 days after the death of 11-year-old Sylvester OROMONI Jr., student of the now infamous Darwin College, Lagos, generated controversy on social media over bullying, the parents' body of the school held a candlelight procession to commemorate his rather unfortunate death. iBrand senior correspondent says the call for justice was very resounding at the memorial.
Songs of sorrow amid candlelights and tears. It is 6:35 p.m. here at the Darwin College, Lagos, Nigeria. The hitherto peaceful citadel of learning has been on the lips of millions of Nigerians following the ignoble death of the 11-year-old Sylvester OROMONI, who allegedly died after being bullied and given a poisonous substance by senior students. Here, parents of the college hold a procession as they mourn the death of the deceased.
We are here and be here since morning. Myself and some people that came here for the protest of the death of Sylvester. So the reason why we are here, we need justice. Because for the past few days now, all we see is just the same pictures that they are showing. We are not even seeing them taking action. Nothing has been done. So this one that they just came today, they are doing candle night. That one does not stop the justice. So candle night cannot stop the justice. Let's know what happened to Sylvester. We want to know.
It's time now for business news.
Hello and welcome to Business News. I am Omobolanle Adeshui and here are the stories we're tracking at the moment. A fellow of the Chartered Institute of Bankers, Pascal Nsoromotu, has advised the government to ramp up activities in the agricultural sector so as to address its continuous rising negative foreign trade balance. According to the recent foreign trade report released by the National Bureau of Statistics, Nigeria extended its negative trade balance in the third quarter of 2021 by 3 trillion naira as total imports hit 8.2 trillion naira against 5.1 trillion naira in the period under review. Nsoromotu spoke on our business flagship program, Business Breakfast.
We have enough money. God has blessed Nigeria with abundant money and resources. To drive down the cost of production, we must look inwards and look at those companies that are genuinely producing.
Right.
Look at them, put things into them, inject funds in them. For example, each time I remember this local car manufacturing company, each time I remember that company, I feel so happy because at least it makes Nigeria, it shows that Nigeria can actually go beyond where it is. That company produces cars in Nigeria, made in Nigeria cars, and I even learned that very soon they are going to be exporting to the neighboring African countries. Then, if we have that kind of thing, how do we support that kind of person? We try as much as possible to make sure that we inject funds into that and create serene environment for such production. How do you create such a serene environment for such production? Make light steady. If we don't fix light in Nigeria, all we are talking about is just babash. We are not telling ourselves the truth. We must fix power. Power is the major thing that drives production. So we must fix power. We must fix every other thing that is related to that production sector that we need so that we'll be able to export more of the goods produced in Nigeria.
Until Nigeria gets its leadership right, her economic challenges remain unsolved. This is according to a policy and financial analyst, Mukhtar Mohammed. According to Mohammed, the country has what it takes to become the most productive economy in the world with its natural resources. He says until Nigeria gets its leadership right, only then will it begin to address her many economic challenges. Mukhtar spoke to iBrandTV's business correspondent, Frank Omalape.
I think the biggest problem facing Nigeria is leadership. Economic leadership, political leadership. When we're talking about economy, I think it's leadership. Leadership to do the right thing. Leadership to look at the economy and say, this is what I want to do, in spite of who is involved. That's the greatest problem we have in Nigeria. the challenges has to do with leadership, even economic leadership, who's how they're leading us economically. When you look at 1960, what we had, then what we have now, you don't seem to be any similarity. In 1960, Nigeria was one of the best economy agricultural wise. We have the cocoa in the southwest, we have the granite pyramid, and we seem to be the food basket of Africa and maybe the world at that time. But then we discover oil, everything changed. Then we were not able to manage the boom that has happened through the oil discovery. And that has become the greatest challenge of our economy, because our economy became oil dependent. And the only time we take something different is when the price of crude has come down. Then we shout diversification. Once everything goes to normal, we forget about diversification. So a major challenge is leadership.
And in other news, the federal government has announced the commencement of the final stage of construction of its new Kaduna-Jos 330 kV double-circuit transmission line, which is to raise the facility's capacity to evaluate 1,500 megawatts of electricity. It announced this through the Transmission Company of Nigeria, adding that the construction would come with the erection of 8 triple-circuit towers at the intersection point of the new double-circuit and existing single-circuit 330 kV transmission line to enable the stringing of the 330 kV lines. The General Manager, Public Affairs CCN Ndidimba, said the construction of the new facility was in line with efforts to further expand the country's electricity transmission capacity, adding that reconstruction work will be completed within 8 days, from the 8th to 15th December 2021. And Total Energies and its partners on the oil mining lease 130 have announced the inauguration of 11 projects across 6 geopolitical zones of Nigeria this year. Total Energies said in a statement that the projects were initiated, executed and inaugurated to mitigate the gaps in qualitative and technical education, maternal and child health, access to clean water, and women and youth empowerment. The projects, according to the statement, include information communications technology centers, borehole and water treatment plants, mammography centers, secondary school structures, solar-powered water projects, and solar hybrid power plants. Moving on, the Minister of Agriculture and Rural Development, Dr. Muhammad Abubakar, has said robust partnership and collaboration between the ministry and agricultural research institutions will fast-track development of the agricultural value chain, improve the quality of seeds, and enhance productivity. Abubakar stated this during the launch of the technical working document and the briefing of outcomes of socio-economic studies by the International Crops Research Institute for the semi-arid tropics. He said the federal government is determined to fill the gap and consolidate on the achievements recorded and focus on productivity enhancement, institutional realignment, and private sector investment. And the Australian High Commissioner to Nigeria, John Donnelly, says his country is willing to collaborate with the International Institute of Tropical Agriculture, IITA, to explore wheat production. Donnelly stated that the Australian Commission was proposing collaboration on wheat production if IITA, through agricultural cooperation, was willing to add wheat to its mandate crops. On his part, the Deputy Director, General Corporate Services, IITA, Hilde Copper, appreciated the team and introduced them to the agency's technologies and activities. Moving on now to the foreign scene, where the International Air Transport Association, IATA, has asked the government to follow the advice of the World Health Organization, WHO, and immediately rescind travel bans that were placed on Nigeria, South Africa, and others. According to IATA, public health organizations, including the WHO, have advised against travel curbs to contain the spread of Omicron. The association's Director General, Willie Walsh, noted that implementing measures such as screening or quarantine need to be defined following a thorough risk assessment process informed by the local epidemiology in departure and destination countries. He added that all measures should be commensurate with the risk, time limited, and applied with respect to travelers' dignity, human rights, and fundamental freedoms as outlined in the international health regulations. And that's it from the business desk. Many thanks for watching. I am Omobolanle Adeshui.
Thank you, Omobolanle, for the business news. It's time now for the sports news.
On sports update at this hour, former WBC champion Keith Thurman and Mario Barrios have struck a deal for a welterweight fight that will headline a Premier Boxing Champions event on Fox pay-per-view on the 29th of January 2022. Barrios, who is coming off a loss, having lost to Gervonta Davis by technical knockout in round 11 of a 140-pound bout in June, will campaign at 147 pounds, where he will face Keith Thurman. At 5'10", Barrios possesses an uncanny height for the 130 and 135-pound divisions and will again have a height advantage over the 5'7" Thurman. Keith Thurman is undeniably the bigger fighter with a career-long 147 pounds, having had wins over the likes of Sean Porter, Danny Garcia, and Roberto Guerrero. For Thurman, it's a second straight headline appearance on pay-per-view, and it's part of a growing number of such offerings from PBC on Fox that is expected to continue throughout 2022. The location for the bout and the details of the purse are yet to be disclosed. And still talking sports update, former Liverpool and Barcelona midfielder Javier Mascherano has been named the new coach of Argentina's under-20 team. The 37-year-old, who won 147 caps for Argentina and served as his country's captain, will replace Fernando Batista at the helm of the job. It will be the first foray into management for Mascherano, who called time on his playing career in 2020, having last played for Estudiantes. He won 5 La Liga titles and 2 Champions League titles in his 8-year stint at Barcelona. He also had playing stints with River Plate, West Ham, Corinthians, and Liverpool. He played every minute of Argentina's 2014 World Cup campaign, which they lost to Germany in the final. And that's it on Sports Updates. I'm Samson Oleide.
Oh, thank you, Samson. This is time to take the entertainment news.
Hello and welcome to Entertainment News. I am Michelle Abanum. Actor Jussie Smollett, one-time star of the TV drama Empire, was found guilty on Thursday of staging a hate crime against himself in what prosecutors said was a bid to gain sympathy and boost his career. Prosecutors said Smollett lied to the police when he told them that he was accosted on a dark Chicago street by 2 masked strangers in January 2019. The actor faces a maximum sentence of 3 years in prison for each count when he is sentenced, although he could be given probation. The Cook County Circuit Court jury, which deliberated for 9 hours, found Smollett, 39 years old, guilty of 5 of the 6 felony disorderly conduct counts he faced, 1 for each time he was accused of lying to the police. Describing Smollett's account of what happened as ridiculous, Special Prosecutor Dan Webb told reporters following the verdict that Mr. Smollett would not have lost this case as he did today unless the jury found that he lied to them. Smollett's lead defense attorney, Neye Uche, said his client was an innocent man who was confident he would see the guilty verdict overturned on appeal. Next, Nigerian star Burna Boy is set to stage his very first headline concert at the famous Madison Square Garden in New York, revealed in a new teaser video. Earlier this year, Burna Boy staged his very first headline concert at the O2 Arena in London, and it was a blast. The singer was joined on stage at the O2 concert by singers like Rema, Omale, Ruga, and King Promise of Ghana. Burna Boy himself gave fans a special experience when he arrived at the concert, floating in on a spaceship. Burna Boy shared a video teaser recently which imitated a chat between him and the Madison Square Garden, requesting him to come and be the first Nigerian to headline the venue. And that's it on Entertainment News. I am Michelle Abanum. Thank you.
And that's a wrap on News Now. You can follow us on all of our social media handles across Facebook and Instagram, and of course on YouTube. Thanks for watching. My name is Mary Chinda.